It's funny. We've been chatting for like what 5-10 minutes now, and it just occurred to me that you look like a doctor with the white lab coat,
I do.
Doctor Stone.
I am here. Tell me what hurts. I am here with the
Well, actually, I
prescription.
just for the audience sake, and actually, I don't know the answer to this. What happened with the Marigas? Did that all get fixed?
Oh Lord, yes. Well,
All
you
right,
know what?
good.
To be honest, I think I have too many accounts open in my name right now. Um, but there's been so much happening, right? Which is
I was
kind
going
of
to
where
say
you and I were
you
just
don't have to go into
talking.
details, but
Well, I don't even have.
you thought that was a bad day.
I thought that was a bad day. That was a life was lifing like it always does. So it was like compounding, right? It's like you can manage one thing and then
Yeah.
another thing happens and then a third thing happens that kind of pushes you over the edge. Which reminds me, I don't know if we're flowing, alpha flow. Welcome everyone. Um I just thought of a story that to me kind of puts a picture around what you and I are talking about and also the importance of decompressing and knowing how
Hmm.
to take things in stride and resilience. Um in high school, my senior year, my stepdad had passed away from cancer, but it was a really kind of a long battle. He was at home for the majority of the end. I slept with this machine outside my door that would beep all night because he was on oxygen and different things. Um, and I started skipping school, and I came home one day and I saw the for sale sign, like we were gonna move again, right? And the best way I can explain it was I had this closet, right? This closet from my whole life, from a little girl and an alcoholic father and all of the things that I was experiencing and all the things that everyone experiences. And I had this closet and I would just something would happen. I'd open up the closet, I'd put it in there and I'd shut the door, right? So, and I think this is what happens for people is that we see people have these big over the top reactions to something that seems small. So I came home, I saw the for sale sign. I went to open that closet door and stick that emotion in there, but there was no more room. So everything came tumbling out. So I had this big, huge reaction to a for sale sign, but that was really just years and years of constantly moving,
Hmm.
constantly having to pick up. And so I may have had a small mental breakdown my senior year. I was in the house and I was screaming. I was by myself. And I remember I started coughing and blood came out. Like I was screaming so loud, I
Yikes.
made vocal cords. I don't know. My mom comes home in the middle of that. Meanwhile, she stops at the mailbox, and in the mailbox is a letter from school. Like Tara hasn't been in school for the past 2 weeks or whatever it was. I would go to the parking lot with intentions to go into school and I would get there and I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I would go sit at the beach. I wasn't even like I did fun stuff. I was really having a very hard time. And so my mom comes in, she sees this. I'm in the house like, screaming like a banshee. She puts me in the car and drives me to the reservoir and she's like, "Here, you can scream all you want here." And I'm like, "I don't want to scream anymore." Um, she was trying to do what she could to help me, and I think at a young age, that experience helped prepare me to be more resilient. It also helped me to realize that you can't just keep packing emotions and things
Hmm.
away. You're gonna have to deal with them at some point in time. And this fast forwards me to what happened on Monday with the health scare with my mom, and my son was home. I was about to take him to school. And so my son experiences this very scary thing happen with my mom. She was completely blacked out and I'm screaming her name to try to like get her to wake up. And I look up, I can't leave her. I look up and I see my son is just like his face is dropped and he is, going into tears, and I had him jump into action and help me do some things, and I took my mom went to the hospital in the ambulance, my brother went with her, I drove Alexander to school because I didn't want him just to sit and stew on that all day, and we were driving, and I said, "I know that was hard to see. You did great. You jumped right into action, you followed instructions, you were able to, help show the ambulance where to come." And I just said to him, "You have friends that won't have to deal with anything like that, maybe for their whole childhood or maybe even into
Yeah.
their young adulthood. Um, but when something in life happens, and it will, it's inevitable that there's loss, there's an inevitable that someone that you love gets sick. Um, you and I have talked about this before. I said you are much better equipped to handle those types of situations, right?
Yeah,
Handle a situation. You know what it feels like to be in kind of an emergency. You know what it feels like when you have to take specific steps and stay calm. Um, so I was trying to talk about, really how it sucks as a mom to see have your child experience something like that, but I want to be helping him build resiliency, and that's
yeah,
something that you and I have talked about before. I don't know why that story came up, but all of these things in life, right, where you just realize, like, life is happening for you, and
exactly. Is when you take that mindset and that kind of look at things from that perspective, it's impossible to not become resilient because that's what that's just what happened with Alexander, right? Like that is going to build the resilience for him later in life. If he does have to come across something happen, playing sports and a kid collapses or something, like
Mhm.
he's mentally prepared for that now. It's not to say that we want stuff like that to happen all the time, but it's still, and it's something I contemplate all the time. Obviously with my mother suffering with the disease she has, um, you know, I didn't, I think I was probably in my early 20s when my first grandparent died. So I was very lucky in that sense. I got my whole childhood with all of my grandparents alive. But I didn't learn how to deal with death in the family until I was an adult. And I think when you have to deal with it as a child, it does just it builds that kind of callous, so to speak. Like because we can try and protect our kids all we want, but life is going to throw some curveballs at you, and if we don't prepare ourselves, and again, there's not really any way of preparing it for it in a nice way, so like that's the only positive I see with my mother going through what she's going through. Like my kids have to learn, and my niece and nephew, they have to kind of learn how to, seeing someone in your family struggle and then eventually dealing with the death, and it's at least that's gonna help them later in life. That's it's a positive you can take from it.
I think the key. So I grew up like really Italian family, right?
Mhm.
And take that with a grain of salt, right? I'm not saying every Italian family or only Italian families,
Yeah,
but there was very much a mindset of like whatever happens in the house stays in the house. You don't talk about family business outside the house.
yeah,
So, I had a lot of experiences where maybe like my backpack was downstairs and my dad was drinking and we knew we had to go to our rooms and stay in our rooms, but I couldn't get my homework done. And I was super studious, like, and so but going to school the next day and I didn't have my homework done, but I couldn't say, "Well, I couldn't get my backpack because my father was drunk and I was told I
yeah,
had to stay in my room," right? So there's this you keep it to yourself, and I want to believe that that's the difference I'm doing as a parent where I talk with Alexander after something happens. I validate his feelings. I know that was scary. Like whatever feelings he had, scared, upset, like those are all normal and
yeah,
validate. If not in like we got to be strong. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying yes, it's scary. Yes, it's upsetting and you were also strong. So talking about it, acknowledging that the feelings are normal and then kind of celebrating the resiliency making part of it.
yeah.
Not just pretending like it didn't happen or not trying to sweep it under the rug or not just saying, "Well, that's just we don't talk about it."
Yeah, and you can always tell. Uh, it's interesting when multiple people go through a similar situation. You see how they react to it
Mhm,
and the levels of resilience, and then you
mhm,
start thinking, "Oh, I wonder what from their childhood how this kind of came about." And there are a lot of people that just get stuck in that kind of fixed mindset of everything is bad. This is what we were talking about last week, right? The victimhood and all of that.
yeah,
Yeah, and I was saying before recording, just you and I do have this ridiculous growth mindset. We see the positive in so much, even the darkest stuff that we've both been through. We're always going to find a positive to take from it, and you forget sometimes that while it feels like it comes naturally now, it's a hell of a lot of work to get to where we are now. And
mhm,
there's still more work to be done,
mm,
but everybody's got to start somewhere. And is I think people are hesitant to to start the journey and start the work because there's not always that that instant gratification. You know, it's a lot. You need a lot of feedback loops and a lot of self-talking and self-diagnosing and being self-aware. And I don't know how much of it is people just aren't equipped with that, and that's a skill in itself.
Mhm.
Um, but approaching everything with that growth mindset is really the only way to move forward through situations instead of dwelling. And you realize how much time you lose
Yes.
to the pain and the
Mm.
negative thoughts.
Yeah, and it's scary for people, and I just lost my thought. I apologize because my brain is I'm just thinking about so much. I'm just going to say it. I really never wanted to make suicide a platform, and I've been avoiding this. But I told before you and I got on, I mentioned it, right? So today's the 1 year anniversary of the suicide, and I think about resilience and what makes some people push through, and what makes other people feel like their only option is to not push through, right?
Yeah,
And I'm always so grateful that I hopefully will never understand what mindset someone has to be in to actually follow through with a suicide. I'm grateful that I don't understand that. People are like, I don't understand. Well, good. You should be grateful that you don't
yeah,
understand. Um, I do know in that particular instance, that it stemmed from real severe childhood trauma that was never dealt with um in a healthy way. And so I would be a little remiss. And I don't want to be in the shadows about this. I think May is suicide awareness or prevention month.
was it really?
Yeah, which I always thought was so
Yeah,
ironic that it happens on the first day of this month. Um that people are struggling everywhere. So, one, just be a little kinder because you never know what someone's going through. But two, if you are in a place where, you just feel like all is lost or you're too deep down in the hole, like there is always a way back. There is always a way back. There is always a way out, or there is always a way through, but you can't do it on your own.
yeah.
So, and now I'm kind of wishing I think it's 811. It's a resource number to call, but something's just compelling me to say that. Like if you're struggling right now, just reach out. Reach out to anyone, someone that you
No,
know, reach
reach
out
out
to
to us.
yeah, reach out to us. Um there are resources and it doesn't make you bad. And I think that's what maybe where my brain was going, that it's both. You can feel hurt by something. You can feel upset. You can feel angry. You can feel like, you know what, that wasn't fair. Like you can have that. Moving past that doesn't mean you're letting go of it or saying that it was
Mhm.
okay. You're saying that this is not going to have power over me. I'm not going to give more of my life, time, energy, and effort, like you said, like how much it's already taken from you. I'm not going to give this thing more of that. So I'm going to face it. But you don't have to face it alone. You might have to do some of the work alone, but there's plenty of people to be alongside you.
Yeah, and I didn't want to bring up what had happened, but I was going to say, we were talking right before we press record just about how it's been a year and just how much incredible stuff has happened in your life in that time. And as you said, yes, you've got the grieving process and dealing with the pain and everything from that. But there's also a lot of stuff that wasn't so good before,
Yeah.
and not with regards to that, professional life and things like that.
Yeah.
And look how the scales have completely tipped there, and that's a lot of it's down to the resilience you have. And Amy would ask me, and she's like, is Tara doing okay? And I'm like, I think I said to you, if anyone's going to deal with something like this,
Yeah.
like that's across the bear for Tara because she's got that resilience.
Yeah.
Um, and credit to you for what you've done with your life in that. It's a short time, a year.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
year.
We overestimate, right, what we can do in a year, underestimate what we can do in 3 years. There was some decisions are thrust upon us, and some decisions
Yeah.
we kind of get to make more on our own. Um my path just got cleared. I cleared some of it and some of it was, cleared for me. I have so much peace with what happened. And I won't go into it. My girlfriend said to me, like, you were meant to help carry him out of this life. And I really believe that. Like, I don't feel like I had this great big future that was taken from me. Like, I really
Right.
feel like I was part of this transition for him. And if you haven't experienced, it may be really weird to hear somebody say that. But I have so much peace in that. Um, I don't necessarily understand why. However, just my relationships have gotten so much closer with, even my girlfriends,
Yeah.
who I love and adore, but wasn't being purposeful about getting time together.
Yeah.
Um, like you said, so much beautiful has come where my career has gone. And that's because I couldn't just sit in bed and say, woe is me. Now, I did need to slow down. I did need to surround myself with people and I needed to work through some things. And there's some trauma of that, that's still I'm still working through. And that's just more the physical trauma of seeing and dealing with the scene kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but, like, with that said, like, I don't want life to keep throwing stuff at me, and I'm like, "But, like, what you got? Like, you can't break me." Like, I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep doing, and I'm gonna keep caring, and I'm gonna keep loving, and I'm gonna keep pushing myself, and I'm gonna keep pushing the people around me, because, like, we get one life, and I'm so sad for people that feel like they can't stay in this life,
Yeah.
and but for me, it's like, this is a gift. It's all a gift, and, uh, there's just no other choice.
Yeah. Well, just a little funny story for the audience about uh, our friend Tara. It was definitely within, it may have been a few days after, it was definitely within a week. We had a session booked because we were still coaching at that point. And I think you called me or you texted me, you're like, oh, I'm really, really sorry. I don't think I'm going to be able to do the session. I'm like, why is this still on the fucking calendar? Get it off the calendar. What are you
I
talking
really
about?
thought I needed just a couple days. I thought I just need the weekend,
Yeah.
and I'll be good, and that So, yeah, I needed more than a couple days, but at the same time, I couldn't take too long because being with my people and coaching and, like, being of value to the people around
Yeah.
me, that's what fills me. So I had to not get too far away from that, and I'm so fortunate that I have people close that I could have some honesty with and gave me a little bit of grace and, yeah. So, resiliency, I really pushed back against the word resilient for a while. I'm like, "God, I'm so tired of being strong." But then I'm like, "That's silly. I'm not
Yeah.
tired of being strong." Like, I love where I can be peaceful and relaxed and I'm learning how to let others take the lead. And I think that's something that's really happening with Ben and I as well. Like where my natural instinct is to keep driving certain things, I see the value in and the value and also what I want in letting someone else lead in certain areas. And for me that's a real conscious like okay, not stepping out, I'm just stepping back and I'm letting this person lead here and I'm following and I'm still honoring myself where I need to, but, if you can't complain about having to do everything and always be strong if you never let anyone else be strong for you, if you're or you never
Yeah.
let anyone else lead the way. So this is like a huge lesson for me in doing right now.
Well, I think that is a big part of being resilient or how you become resilient, right? Is just letting go and sometimes it's just letting life and the universe kind of take care of itself. And you said something really key there of, you know, situations kind of, I forget your exact wording, but it's like choices were made for you that led
Yeah.
you to have to go a certain path. Without going into too much because it hasn't happened yet, but I know it's happening. I'm going through kind of situation like that on the professional side of things, and it's almost freeing knowing that, hmm, this is a stress. It could be a very stressful time, but at the same time, maybe I just gotta let life and the universe take me take me down this path. Maybe I've been distracted the last few years, and I should have been doing this already. You know, and I was talking about it with actually with my therapist, and she was saying you don't seem too stressed about it, and I was like, I just don't. I really feel like I'm in God's hands right now. Like all of the and when we talked about it before, like when you open your eyes to opportunities, you start to see things in a different way, and it's really freeing. And it comes from having the growth mindset of seeing the good. Because sometimes you'll be faced with an opportunity, but you see the negative side of things, so you don't go with it. And I just really wish that everybody listening to this could experience this kind of level of and I even said in therapy, I was like, maybe I'm just deluded. Maybe I just have this grand amount of delusion that, you know, everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
But you start thinking about all the other things I've gone through in life. I'm like, it's not really that bad when you put it in the on the list of things that have happened to me. So what is there to get stressed about? Stress is only going to stop me getting to where I need to get to.
And this has all been preparing you. This has all been preparing you for what's next.
Yeah,
And you can't take away any parts of it because then you wouldn't be exactly who you are right now. I can the corporate coaching stuff I did is as horrific as that experience was towards the end and some of the stuff that I witnessed was like if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have walked into these 30 million times bigger corporate opportunities with the same amount of confidence that if I hadn't had that experience. So, if I hadn't had that job, I wouldn't be sitting in this house right now because
yeah,
it's very difficult to get a mortgage on an independent contractor agreement. And I had gone through a divorce.
yeah.
So, financially my credit was okay, but I went from, making really good money to making okay money. So
Well,
without
no
that
money at one
job,
point. You were making
what?
that Uber money for a little
I was
while.
Ubering it for a little while there. Yeah, so I wouldn't have qualified for or as easily qualified for a mortgage if it wasn't for that job. After I closed on my house and it was like a week later, and I was being strategic about,
Yeah,
staying. And that was also against my integrity because I was like, I can't have a job change right now. Like I've got to get my mortgage, right? Because I have to have a place for my mom and my son. And
yeah,
um, but again, all a gift. And I couldn't, if I changed one bit of it, I would not be who I am today. I would not be sitting where I am right now. So I'm super grateful to that experience. For everything that it taught me and brought me and made me capable of just like everything that you've been doing and the universe is like, "Yeah, okay, like now we're gonna
now it's
help you
time. Yeah.
catalyst it a little bit."
Yeah, and you said something there about integrity that kind of made me think. I don't know if you can be resilient without being truthful to yourself.
Mm, mhm.
I
Oh,
think if
yeah,
you don't know who you are, it goes back to that self-awareness I was talking about. Like if you don't know who you are and what you stand for, it's very hard to get through tough times because you're always going to essentially be lying to yourself
right?
about what's important, what you believe in. And getting clarity around that is really, really empowering.
And the tough times test it, and they either build your conviction or they make you realize that you're full of nonsense on something, and then you get to decide, "You know what? I'm saying this, but I'm not acting it, and here's my opportunity to actually live it."
Yeah.
Or, in my case, like, "Do you really believe all these things?" Like, "Yes, I do." Then you can have the faith and confidence in that to keep moving forward.
Yeah. My favorite saying is, um actually was different variations. I got the simple version of my tattooed on me that faith over fear.
Mhm,
But I think it might be from the Bible. I don't know, but it's just the idea of like if you have faith in not just in a God or in the universe, but in yourself, then there's really nothing to fear because you will figure it out somehow, some way. And that doesn't matter what you're going through. If that's going through a breakup, if that's going through a tragedy like you went through, or a death in the family, or a really hard time, someone's medical issues and whatnot, something happening with your child. If you really believe in who you are and what you want for that person,
mhm.
then there's nothing to be scared of.
Um, when you just said that too, and I'm thinking of a specific example, and I just say Ben's name again. I've really watched him go through very interesting things, and to see how much grace he handles things with. He's very much like you in a lot of cases where he really kind of accepts responsibility for
Right.
okay, I have a part in this. Even stuff that's been like pretty unfair. But to handle it with, having some basic human emotions around it, but really looking at it like Ben beat cancer, in 2016, I think it was. And so like
I didn't
crazy
know that.
experience,
Wow.
but he'll talk about that being one of the best experiences of his life. And maybe one day he'll join as a guest
I
here
was about to say
and
we've got to get him on. He's got some
yeah.
stories to tell.
Some and that's a crazy story because it has to do also with one of his children being diagnosed with something, and he actually asked God to give it to him. And the day that they got basically not an all clear, but it wasn't this really horrific disease they thought it could be, was the same day that Ben got diagnosed with
Get
cancer.
out.
Yes, I just got chills
Well, I just got
everywhere.
chills. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Um, and I remember when we first started dating, he's like, "Oh, I have some stories. I have some stories." And like, what kind of stories does he have? And then, I started learning and just to see really the grace that he handles things with.
Yeah.
Um, it's inspiring.
Yeah. And again, you can't have resiliency without that kind of grace either.
Yeah.
And I really don't like to go the woo woo route. And it's a shame that we like have to even refer to it as woo woo. But
Yeah.
like people, the universe is real. Like energy, frequencies, it's real. If you put out negative energy, if you put out fear, that's what you're going to get back.
Yeah. You
So
attract
you've
what
got
you are,
to,
not what you want.
yeah, you have to just make a real effort to put positive energy out. That's why I'm a big fan of journaling, and I've gotten out of the habit of doing it just because I feel like I've kind of mastered the thought, the what just doing it by thought.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to start writing it down again, but
Do you
I,
wanna
I
do
still
something
yeah,
together? I keep telling myself I wanna journal, and Amy Zimmerman is such a inspiration for me, and I made that journal that she started using. Like,
yeah.
I'm the one who made it, and I've seen the success she's had with it, but I'm not sitting down and writing down my intentions. So there's a couple things. I don't know, should you and I do a little challenge together and just for, like, a week? Journal
Sure,
for a week? When do we
sure. And
wanna
actually, what
sit?
I'll do is I have a course I put together a while back. There's been about 400 people that have done it so far
Yeah.
around the world. I will put the journaling. It's like a 1.5 minute video. I'll put a link to it in the show notes,
Yes.
and in the link on the YouTube comments, there should be a downloadable PDF. I think it is. You can
Okay.
fill it out.
Cool.
It's really just instructional in the video how to fill it out. So I'll do that. Um, yeah, I think that'd be fun for everybody, and yeah, this would be good kick up the butt to get started on it again.
I love it. I've got mine from my holistic operating system. It's just like it's a two-pager. I can get that to you too if you
Yeah,
want. Um, all right, when are we starting?
tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow as of recording, so actual tomorrow,
Okay. So Friday.
Friday.
Okay. And we'll do it for a week
Yeah,
or longer, but we're committed to a week
yeah.
every day. Okay. Deal. And then we'll
Good.
report back.
Well, and everybody else should join in with us too.
Yes. Want to know who takes it, who
It
does
really
it.
it really is powerful because if you start your day with those positive thoughts,
Mhm.
you literally rewire the synapses in your brain
Yeah.
to you change the wiring of your brain. It's really really powerful.
So my journal is morning and night. So the night is reviewing from the day and setting intentions for the next day, and then that morning is reiterating that.
Mhm.
Um, it is powerful, and we know this stuff, and we're not doing it. So
Yeah,
we're gonna do it. Let's do it for a week, and let's see what it brings. Um, cool.
and I was thinking before we kind of got into the convo of who, and I actually don't know who I would say asking this, but are there any, I want to say, like, well-known people, just so people have more context. Like, who do you look at and say, "Wow, that person is really inspiring because of how resilient they are."
Mm,
People in the public domain. Like the first person I thought of was Steve Jobs. Just from, again, you can question. There's certain negative stuff that around how he treated people allegedly. I also know
yeah.
people who worked with him and said he was great, but
Allegedly.
had a bit of spice to him. But you look at that whole story of Apple and how they nearly went out of business, and he came back and saved them, and Now look at them.
Yeah.
You know, change the world.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't I've never been real great at looking at outside people. I mean, I'm definitely inspired by people, but there's no one that's like jumping out to me. I think I see resilience in every leader, every person that puts themselves out there. I mean, Gary Vee is jumping to my mind just because he's always so out there. There's not anyone that's in the public eye that you can't point to areas where they've been resilient or
Well,
had to be resilient.
that was another thought I had when I was thinking of that earlier. Just I don't. I think we'd be hard pressed to find someone that's really made it to the top without having to have gone through a lot to get there. We just
Yeah.
don't always hear about that.
Yes. And once you're at the top, it's not like it all goes away.
Yeah.
It's just you just become more capable. It doesn't get easier, right? That's like working out, right? It doesn't get easier, you just get stronger.
Right.
So that's physically,
Well,
but
but
it's also mentally.
to that point, you know, I've been lifting now for scary over 20 years now, 23, 24 years. Like actually lifting consistently a few times a week. And you do get to a point where the gains are that much more incremental. When you first start doing stuff, it's like, my health coaching program is 90 days for the corrective phase, and then there's more of a maintenance phase. You shouldn't actually need me after that.
Mhm.
We can do so much in that short period, but then so then going forward from there, it's just like small, small steps. So, like, if you start journaling, you'll start feeling positive, and much like what has happened with us, we stopped doing it because we're already thinking that way. But
Mhm.
if we'd actually been more consistent with it, we probably would have had those extra little gains
Yeah.
of positive mindset.
And it's great to just go back to basics, right? It's
Yeah,
it's just great to go back to what works. And I think that's what I love about journaling is it's just something it's so simple, like a pen and a piece of paper, right? Your phone and your notes. Like you don't overcomplicate it. Um give yourself a couple writing prompts that I'm sure both of our worksheets have in them and just like let it flow. Don't overthink it and just start seeing where it takes you. Life is just a beautiful journey and the days are going to pass no matter what. Whether you want them to or not, whether you want to be participant in your growth or not. The days are going to come and they're going to pass and your time is going to become less
yeah,
and you're going to either be purposeful about designing it and creating it and living it or you're going to live life by default and basically let life happen to you and go through the world to your end of days. You get to
yeah,
decide.
yeah. And just I'm going through this weird phase right now of like every time I'm outside and I see blue sky and the tree, the leaves have finally blossomed on the trees. It just makes me feel so happy and grateful. I'm like, wow, like nature is amazing. And I've never been a nature kind of guy, and I don't think I'm gonna ever start camping or anything. But like I ground, barefoot on the
Yeah.
grass and all of that. I really enjoy being outside now. And it's amazing how much it can just get you out of a bad mood. Like if you're feeling stressed or something, just go outside. And I think there was a study done. They found humans really reduce stress when you look at the sky through like branches on a tree.
Mm,
There's something about it, it just really relaxes you.
believe it.
So just building little teeny little habits into your day that don't take a lot of time. Journaling takes 2 to 3 minutes. Um, Although it's funny, when I do it, I often forget I really don't write anymore. I can't write.
Right. Yeah, there's something about putting a pen to paper that is leaving us because we do it less and less.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
just spending. I mean, and as we saying, like it's incrementally. Because I want to make sure that we give some kind of actionable stuff to people because we can talk
mhm,
about resilient and obviously we both are, but as I said, it takes a lot of work to get there. I want to make sure there are some things people can do in terms of the actual work. I think journaling's a great place to start. I think just every few hours, just stop and look around where you are and say, "Wow, I'm so grateful for being in this position."
yeah.
You know?
Attitude of gratitude. Um, I know we're both well, I'm more on a time, but this was great. I'm glad we talked about this today. Normally we're much more specific, but this kind of just flowed where I think it needed to flow and
Yeah.
that's good for Alpha Flow. Some stuff came out. We've got some action steps. We've got a little challenge, you and I. And anyone that's listening that wants to journal with us for the next 7 days, starting today, the day you're listening, but for us, it's starting
Yeah.
tomorrow. And yeah,
Which
I
actually
can't
should
agree with you more.
should be the same day. It's just you're probably when it comes out, you're gonna be doing it at night. It's gonna
Yes.
drop on Friday, so
Yes. All right. I'm excited for you. You're in transition period. You're in a big transition right now, and I'm
big
super
transition.
excited for you.
Yeah.
And your mindset about it is awesome. And it's okay to be, not that you are scared, but it's okay. People think that they can't be scared or have fear. It's like acknowledge that. That's normal.
And
It's just
use it,
trying to
yeah.
keep you safe, but don't let it paralyze you. And for you, I
Yeah.
know it's not. So just recognize it. And it's like when you're hitting your head against the ceiling, you either go, ow, that hurts, and you back off and you don't grow, or you go, ah, I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm in pain right now. That means I'm about to have a breakthrough. So I'm either going to push through,
Yeah.
and then that ceiling becomes your new floor, or you back off. Choice is
Very well
yours.
said, yeah.
All right, my friends. Until next time, bye for now.